wonderful. Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to the first Blether of 2024. We are live with you this Thursday night and have great guests lined up who we will talk about in just a minute. But Kat, hello, welcome along.
Hello.
How are you?
I know, it feels like, first time I should have officially seen you in 2024, but I'll just see you every Monday. But yeah, hello, welcome back.
I pretend.
We can. But yeah, hello to everyone who's joined us again for the Blether. I hope everybody's well. And
we've got Willis on Facebook, we've got Dave on YouTube, and lots more, I'm sure, who are just too shy to say hello. But do tell us that you're here, that you're watching, and let us know what you're drinking. That's the important thing. What's in your glass? Kat, what's in your glass?
Well,
it's not tea, is it?
What?
It's not tea, is it?
Well, I do actually have some tea. But I was listening to a really cool podcast last night. It was all about the Stanley P. Morrison story and how that company started. So it's not Glengarry. It's Bowmore. I kind of felt like it's a Bowmore night. Bowmore is my comfort dram. Like when I can't be bothered.
You need Bowmore here as well.
Oh, so you do. And also hashtag discount. So like
that bottle's not open, so that means it's Tony's. So I better not track.
Well, that's how me and her bonded. A joint love of Bowmore.
Bonding over Bowmore. That's that should be a slogan, shouldn't it?
I'll put it to the marketing team.
I think so. Dave is suffering from a bad cold. Sorry to hear that, Dave. So he's not dramming tonight. Keith is joining us from his toilet, but not because of a dodgy curry. He's painting the smallest room in the house.
I see.
Sounds like you'll earn a dram later then.
Glad you clarified that.
If that was me, I would have just left it and I'm joining you from the toilet. Go all Dave Muir on it. Yeah, I'm in the bath, guys. Having a dram.
Exactly. We should. Maybe I'll just present next week from the toilet and see how that goes. I don't think I will.
You might get a better signal, actually.
I might do. My internet was shocking last night, so I'm really hoping it stays.
It stays. Well, let's hope so. Well, I'm having what did I do with what? The Hollywood Arrival.
Oh, jealous! I really wanted that.
Really nice. It was one obviously launched last year as the inaugural of the Hollywood Distillery, and I think one of the best inaugural spirits, and one of the most complex I've seen in a long time. So yeah, I'm having a wee dram of that. So I thought we've arrived in 2024, so the arrival seemed
nicely done. I couldn't think of anything to tie it in, so I just went for the safe option.
You should have done a handful of Glengarry from today's date. Dated it today.
I know. Well, I was over there today, and I thought, no, I can't kick off the very first Blether by just promoting Glengarry. So what did I do? I chose one of the other distilleries that we have.
You do? Yeah, I was going to say you do it every other week, so why not? We've got David Ather joining on Facebook. Hello, David. Yes, the Hollywood inaugural is what I'm having tonight. David's joining us on the Whisky Ambassador course this year. I think he's booked in for the June or July course.
I spoke to David on the phone recently, I think. Hello, David.
Yeah. Possibly join us on the Academy next year. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to meeting you in person. David, we spoke on the phone and over email, so can't wait to see you in person. We have our guest sitting in the background, so we better let her on because I did say 2 minutes, and that's now fast approaching 5. Federica, just in the background, let you know we do carry Blether on, so I apologize for that. We're going to bring in Federica Stefani.
Hello. I love the Blether. Like it was amazing. I think that's the input from the people here is wonderful, and the places where they're following us. Very interesting.
So maybe we should be saying We should be saying ciao to you, benvenuta.
Wow. Oh, thank you.
Oh, fluent Italian now,
Grazie.
Kat. Fluent in Italian.
Oh, that's me out. Like, that's me topped out. I could do like 3 words at a push, and I could say alambico, and that's about it.
Yeah. Do you need more? Do you need more? To be fair, not many people, even in Italy, would be able to say alambico, so they wouldn't really think of it.
What
Yeah,
does
well,
that
it's
mean?
So
I'm in the dark
that's
here,
good knowledge.
There we go. That's me tapped out, though. Other than saying salute, I'm kind of done for the night.
You don't need
Oh,
more. You don't need more.
So what does that phrase mean? I'm in the dark here.
So salute
But-
is I'm saying salute is lunch. Salute is a toast. I'm going Gaelic now. I can't raise the toast without saying lunch now.
Slange, yeah.
And alambico is the pot still.
So alambico
very-
is alambico in Italian.
Yeah, basically, if you know a bit of French, then you just put more like vowels at the end, and that's Italian, and you do a bit less of it. You just spread out your mouth a bit more. That's us.
The more hand
You have-
gestures in Italian.
Yeah, exactly. You just need to be. Not if
You have-
if your glass is too full though, because then it just drops everywhere. It's a mess.
Put in the odd okay, because I find that Italian people often will say okay. And you're like, okay. It just makes you want to say okay. You have a
There you go.
fantastic Italian Scottish accent. Your Scottish accent just kind of drops in there now and again, and the Italian.
Thank you.
It's a
I'm
great
very
mashup.
Thank you. Like when I first arrived to Scotland, everyone told me that I sounded American, and I hated it.
Oh, no.
Nothing against American, but I always prefer the sounds of more like either Irish. I really loved Irish accents, and now I can understand them a bit more. I don't know why, maybe in Scotland, but I've always liked more British accents rather than American. I don't know, they always intrigued me more. So, but I didn't really know Scottish when I first arrived in Scotland, so that was an interesting. And my first
There's a
port
lot
of
of
call
Scots
was
that understand
Glasgow,
Scottish.
so that was an interesting baptism of fire. Trying on the phone, trying to speak to the landlady as I was a student, and I was trying to secure any cheap accommodation around without being in Scotland. And I remember just trying to speak to the landlady, and she had a strong Glaswegian accent. I was like, I'm gonna sleep under a bridge. Okay, that's gonna be me then.
To be fair,
Well,
Federica, there's a lot of Scots don't understand Scottish accents either. There's so many, such a diverse array of accents that we struggle sometimes with our own language. So don't
Which is
worry. you
amazing,
won't
though.
know.
It's great. It's brilliant, I think, to go from one cent to the other and be like, oh, hang on a second. This is great. So love it.
yeah, Aberdeenshire accent's very distinctive. Some people struggle with a strong Aberdeenshire accent, but I think it's because we talk fast and we have a dialect, a very strong dialect. So people are like, we always have subtitles on TV when Aberdeenshire people talk.
Yeah.
Full Doric. Can you say?
Cool, dog.
What would you say?
Some
Like,
of the guys watching on YouTube might have subtitles on at the moment, and I love the automatic subtitles that YouTube give out. It's absolutely priceless some of the time. It's great. You read back what it thinks we're saying.
absolutely.
We had the guys at Dornoch Distillery on.
Oh.
So the post after, when we advertise, you'll go back and watch the recording. There was like 13 different connotations of Dornoch Distillery. I did a list of all the ways it picked up Dornoch, the word. It was great.
That's brilliant. Like I use a transcription a lot for work, and when I have to transcribe an interview, like a longer one, at first, when I first tried to transcribe any interview with Scottish people at all, it wouldn't pick anything up because everything was set on the like a sort of England, more like sort of Southern England accents. And now it's getting much better, but see, I work a lot with stories in Russia, and you get Russia all the time. It's all the time something about Russia.
All right. So do you speak other languages as well?
That was that was my dog who might speak some. Sorry, my dog is just melting on the couch now, and he's decided to get the attention. So I do apologize for weird noises. It's just that he is a weird guy and has the weirdest noises. But he's yeah, there he is. But I speak. So I studied languages, and if you come from Italian, really, you can pick up English and Spanish and French quite easily. Bit of English, and then I speak Russian and Arabic, but really I've not spoken them in ages, so I've just studied them, and I can maybe have some sort of conversation. It's been sort of more Russian than Arabic. I need to go back and study them again, but there's not really a lot of ways to use them here so far, so I need to find them.
Wow, that's a lot of languages. It's amazing that you have all that in your head. I struggle with English most of the time.
They're not at the same time. So usually, but the problem is that sometimes you think of a word and you're like, hang on a second, how do I say that? Sometimes in Italian now, I'm struggling when I speak to my family. I'm like, I feel like a baby talking sometimes because I'm like trying to sort of, I need to translate this word in English in a way that makes sense. But I don't know the exact translation in Italian. So I think that they have reverted to speaking to me like when I was around 4 years old sometimes.
Yeah, it must be tricky.
He's very vocal.
Yes, he's just having he has like after tea, he has zoomies. I was hoping that he would sleep, but he's not. So you might see him towering somewhere around tree. Go down. Sorry.
It's okay. We all have dogs. Mike has dogs, and I have dogs as well. So don't worry about it. He's just enjoying the blether. That's what it is. He just wants to talk about whiskey.
He wants to get. Yeah, he wants to get it. Well, he's Romanian, so he can join with another language.
It's a very bilingual, multi-lingual blether tonight.
And my housemate is Hungarian. She's not here, but we can do it.
Oh, no way. Hungarian is a crazy language. It's, when you hear it being spoken, it's got like no other equivalent. It's just like, yeah, it's not similar to any other language at all.
Yeah, I've tried to learn some, but it just goes out. It's mental. But it's great, but it's mental.
Yeah. I think the closest you get is like maybe Finnish, but even then it's very, very different from Finnish. Because working for a distillery, you get quite good at picking out languages, and we kind of play a game when people come in. You're like, you can listen to them talking. You're like, oh yeah, they're definitely Belgian, or yeah, they're definitely Dutch, or there's Italians. But Hungarians, you're like, what the hell? Who are they? Where do they come from? And where? You just can't,
and are they in good terms or are they angry?
No, it's always good, but yeah, it's very, very unusual, like very, very different to hear the Hungarian language being spoken. So, but it's beautiful language. Which people from which part of the world, even like going back to 40-year-old speaking, which is the nationality, or like what do you get the most in terms of tourists around there? So we get a lot of French and Scandinavian, so kind of Norwegian.
Scandinavia's nice.
Yeah, and Americans. We get a lot of Americans as well. I have very little French, so I struggle. I struggle with that. But most of the time, you kind of make it work. And then Dutch. Last year, we got a lot of Dutch in as well. So
did you like their whiskey?
They do. They really, really do.
They do. Yeah.
I think they're in the top. So France,
they're
Germany, and Holland in the top 10 list, aren't they, of importers of Scotch, I think. So I think you're India first, then France, then Netherlands and Germany, I think, something like that. They're big buyers of whiskey anyway.
I think that French are big drinkers in any case. Like they just drink. They're good, well-paced, I think, but I drink a lot of very different things. So it's always like, oh, nice.
Yeah,
they do.
The French drink. I think we look at the stats, and they drink more whiskey in 1 month than they do brandy in a year, which is quite surprising. Yeah,
nice.
They are massive consumers. They love it. I mean, it's probably 90% blends, but they like the kind of flavor of a nice light blend, and Yeah, they power through it. They're massive importers and drinkers.
How to blame them?
I know,
I
right?
know, yeah. It goes back to the late 1800s, the phylloxera beetle outbreak, which decimated the vineyards. And we had guys like Johnny Walker just waiting in the wings. Says, "Well, if you're looking, you can't make cognac, you can't make brandy. So
Get
have
some
some
wonderful whiskey.
Exactly, and they've been hooked ever since. And who can blame them?
The best marketing move ever.
I know, right? I wonder if they'll
Scotland.
find out that little beetle was cultivated in a greenhouse in Scotland somewhere and sent out to France.
Well, I heard
greenhouse stuff.
Be like Wizard of Oz, fly, my little beetles, fly. Send them out there.
I kind of want to watch that. So if you had a couple of drams, I feel like that is a really good movie to watch.
It is. I think you need to be slightly drunk to watch the old Wizard of Oz because it's a crazy film, absolutely mental. It's a little bit.
I know that there were so many accidents happening on the set. I was hearing, I don't know, I think it was a podcast, but people just, the Wicked Witch of the West just getting burns or like poisoning from the paint, things exploding, people getting burned. It's dangerous.
For a kid's film as well.
It's a kid's horror movie. It's a little bit like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and that. It's like, there's a lot of fear in there if you're a 5-year-old kid watching it.
It was a scary film. That and Charlie and Chocolate Factory, that used to terrify me. All those little orange people and like Willy Wonka was evil.
It's killing off kids slowly. Yeah.
He was. Yeah. But we should explain who you are, Federica, and not
just a random Italian taken from the streets.
You should. So Federica and I met last year at a press thing. What would you call that? Press trip. We call it press trips, I think. Press trips. It was fantastic. I've had never been to Glengarry before and in the area, so I really, really enjoyed it. And you guys treated us so well. It was. I just say I needed a day or two to recover from it. We're doing our job well. So you are a journalist based up in the Highlands.
Yes, I moved up here I moved into Scotland for journalism and whiskey, and it kind of worked out quite well. So now I am full-time working as a reporter at the Inverness Courier and other newspapers of our Highland News and Media brand. And so when I get the chance, I do some whiskey writing as well, because I need to stick to whiskey a bit. So yeah. So that keeps me right.
Yeah, so we came across you again in the Cask Still Magazine. Wait, there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know how much
here for the photograph purposes.
I was so happy that they chose like basically the Loch Ness Monster there. I didn't know what cover it would be. So when I saw it, I was like, this is so good.
It's a really cool cover. Because the article to do with whiskey and art, isn't it? I think it's the article maybe just before your one.
Yeah.
And like the sort of different bottle designs and things that you get, and how a lot of distilleries are employing artists. I can't remember whose this was. Who has the picture? Is it an Inverness distillery that's got this artwork? I can't remember now.
Now I don't know, to be fair. So we have Ullabesh Distillery here, we might have, but I'm not entirely sure if it's an independent bottler or someone else that has that.
I think it is the one you just mentioned. I think
it's a new Inverness.
The new one, which I've not visited yet, but it looks extremely, extremely cool. So I think it's all like green powered, and it's just right in the middle of the city, so it's a great one.
Yeah. It's Ullabesh, I think, but I'm not sure how that is in Gaelic. Maybe some of our Gaelic guys, if Colin's on or David Muir's on, they can maybe tell us.
Yeah, exactly.
They probably won't be able to tell us because they just have to type it in the chat and we would just read it exactly the same as we read it in the article. I think it means the beast or the water beast. It translates into, I think.
Oh yeah, like the water. Is it the water horse? Or I don't know.
And let us know, guys, if you know something about this new Inverness distillery. But what was in there is their beer labels, I think. I'm not sure if the Nessie on the front is the beer, because they're starting off brewing.
Yeah, they started off with a brewery now. And again, I've not tried it yet. I'm terrible, but yeah, no, they started with that, and then we're waiting for the whiskey to come round at some point. So that's exciting times. And it's nice to have one in the city, because as much as I love the other ones that are around here, which of course it's my dram tonight. It was either that or Glenord, so I had to represent the area. But I think they're just a bit further away, so it's just nice for, I think, tourists to be able to actually see a working distillery, not having to travel that much, and not having to drive.
Absolutely.
So,
me and my wife were up at Garve last weekend, or this weekend past, which is just a little bit north of Dingwall. On the way back, we went and passed Glenord Distillery, Singleton there, and they've got a great setup, beautiful visitor centre, nice big cafe, and tasting bar. We didn't do the tour, but it was busy, and that was kind of weekend in January, lots of rain, lots of wind. But I was speaking to Adam, who works there, and they're saying a lot of the locals have kind of embraced as a place to just go and have some coffee and cakes and a catch up. So there was a tour bus there, and they were making sure the bar was being kept busy. But even in January, it was great to see it busy, and I love the quite modern visitor centre, but a very traditional looking warehouse and still room and things like that. We did a wee sneaky wander around and got some photos of the place unofficially.
They did a great job with it, I think. We went just before it opened to the public, thankfully to another press trip, and it was just like all shiny and it's just and it's great that I think it's great to see distilleries like opening up more to, again, having that option to be also part of serve also the local community in that sense, to be something that is not, you don't necessarily need to just have whiskey. You can come here and have a really nice cafe or just a nice meal, and it's just a really nice place where to be. A good balance when, again, maybe it's a low season. So
yeah, that's true. It's difficult for distilleries when it's out of season, especially if it's a distillery that you have to drive out to. There's nothing else there. Like you're only going to the distillery for that. If you haven't got anything else to bring you people in, it's a quiet old January, February, March. It could be a long couple of months.
Yeah. But I think it also gives something to the community as well. It helps the locals have somewhere to go. Obviously, these distilleries way out in the middle were probably potentially the reason that community started off, with distillery workers moving there and getting houses as part of the setup. So it's nice that they maybe a little bit of giving back and giving them something to kind of be proud of and go and sit in there and we'll go to the distillery for a wee natter and a coffee.
There must have been distilleries in Inverness at one point, though. I don't know the history of distillation in Inverness, but I'd imagine they would have had at least one in the town, maybe at some point. You think?
I think there was a few around here, more than in town. Don't quote me on that. As far as I know, I think that doing another article for Cask Still, we were talking about illicit distilling in the area, and because there's so many lovely remote places where you can hide a still. There was maybe more outside of it, whereas here, maybe back in the day, it was more complicated. Dingwall has quite an interesting story with Farintosh and the Farintosh privilege, where they basically were one of the first ones up there near, and one of the first ones to have permit to actually distill whiskey. So that's a really cool story.
Yeah, they did a lot of distilling for a lot of people. They they didn't have to pay tax on it because of the Jacobean army kind of ransacked the house, and as an apology, because they were government supporters, I think they said, well, we won't charge you tax on the whiskey that's distilled on the land. So they opened up the land to a lot of guys to come in and distill. It's a cool story. Command also got a great story from where the name comes from. I think is it Juniper Hill. The name means, and that's because they use juniper bushes to burn to boil the still, and juniper bush gives off a very light white smoke as opposed to black smoke, so it didn't plume so high. So it was great for hiding, because that was a giveaway for the excise men, was to see these little plumes of smoke coming up from the hills. So that's why Tomatin lasted throughout. That was burning juniper bushes as opposed to kind of trees or peat.
No, that's interesting. And now they are having a massive revamp as well, as far as I've heard. So, they're putting in planning permission, so there should be the plans somewhere around to extend the visitor center. And so there's some graphics of how it's supposed to look like. It's quite cool. It will be nice to see that, and it would be nice if there were more buses going past, because I think first time that I was there, I was basically I arrived on a bus and then I had to hitchhike my way, but I had a few single casks from their selection, and I just heard the stories about Kubukan, the dog that hunts the distillery, or the village. So I was just I went out and I was like, I have to wait at least half an hour, almost probably an hour in the dark, and I'm not too sure if the buses actually came out. So I just found the delivery man and hitchhiked the way back to Inverness.
I've never been to Tomatin, but I love Cabochen. Like, they've got just some gorgeous releases. Really, really nice.
Yeah. No, you should go. I think it's a really interesting. It's very different from other distilleries I've seen. Like, it's more industrial in a way, but in a traditional industrial way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like sort of meeting of the old and the new, isn't it? Some distilleries kind of make it very, very obvious, and sometimes they kind of weave it in and out. But it's, I'll have a look. And there must be quite a big producer, Tomatin, then.
Yeah, they were the biggest producer for a long time in Scotland, I think, up until the 60s.
Sorry.
He's like, I know the answer to that. They're a massive producer. And a lot of it was obviously for blending and overseas blending as well, I think. Is it Taiwan owned? Taiwanese owned?
I'm not too sure.
I think they're Japanese owned. I think it's Japanese, but it's I don't remember I need to check the company now.
Federica was say hello. So you met Rob and I at the festival. So.
Hello.
It's a small world, isn't it? Especially in the whiskey world, it's like a little mafia.
It is very small, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so nice.
It's Japan. Yeah.
It's Japanese.
Ben Marnock's on YouTube. He's saying Glenmore and Glenalbin and Milburn were all distilleries in Inverness. So we had at least 3 that we know of, that Ben knows of. We've also got David Muir. He's not in the bathroom. He's in the kitchen today. He's fitting the floor. You guys are doing a lot of DIY while you're listening to us. So David's boss is in Australia. I guess that's the wife. So no pressure. He has to have it finished before he comes back. So he's not dramming. But I'm sure him and Keith will get a dram afterwards when they've done all their slave labor.
Very, very industrious people this evening. Well done, everyone.
Yeah, I wish I had the same motivation. There's so many things. Do you want to come and get fixed? I have a lot of things to get fixed in the house. So if anyone wants to help,
we'll send everybody up your way and get them.
Do anything for a dram?
Sure they would.
Just flash that bottle of Tomatin again and let them know what the reward is for coming up and helping you, and they'll be
exactly.
right over.
I have a few, yeah. Well,
Is it a single casket you've got, or bought your own, or?
I got it that night that I almost got. I don't know if you can see that. Well, it's a virgin oak, 62.3 ABV. It keeps me warm. From 2018. So no, it's a nice one. It's very flavorful it's quite young, but it's super flavorful because it's virgin oak, so it's all spicy and nice. Yeah. But I'm a bit jealous of your Bowmore now. Like I was like, oh, I really would like a Bowmore, but I don't have any in the house. I need to purchase a Bowmore and look for. You were saying that there's a sale on.
I mean, it depends who you know. But I love Bowmore. See, in the wintertime, like I just want something peaty in the wintertime. It just makes you feel a bit cozier, and it's really good in a hot chocolate. So yum in a hot chocolate.
Yes, I love it. I love it too. It's one of the first ones that I've tried in a hot chocolate, and it's just like, oh my god, that's so good. I might actually make myself a smoky hot chocolate after.
I think I'm going to do that as well before bed. I've got a day off tomorrow, so yeah, I'll just have a smoky hot chocolate before bed. Willis, you've never tried Bowmore. Gosh, you're going to have to rectify.
Willis wasn't a fan of the peaty stuff, though. We could have.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Mike?
When we met Willis on the academy, he wasn't a fan of the peated stuff. He was. We converted him to some, but I think Bowmore might have just been a little push. But you don't know until you try it, Willis.
It's got the lowest ppm on Islay, I think, other than the two that don't have peated whiskey, I guess. But out of all the peated distilleries in Islay, I think it's got the lowest.
ppm is just a number, remember?
Well, I know,
but it's smooth as well. It's sweet. It has a nice round taste. It's a bit less of a rather than a Lafroig, where you're just got a bit. Unless you really love it, then it's a bit of a shock the first time.
I know. I think that's maybe the mistake people make is they start with Lafroig and they're like, "Wow, what is that?" And then they have to come back to it a bit later when they've kind of got a bit brave again. But yeah, Bowmore is very, very, very easy drinking. A bit too because it's so tropical. It's like really, really fruity. It's just, it's yum. Just fruit cocktail with a little bit of fruit cocktail next to a bonfire. That's what it is. But yeah, very, very nice. So talking of whiskey, what drew you to the world of whiskey? Did you grow up in a family that drank whiskey? Were you just intrigued? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, like you've got some very, very famous independent whiskey bottlers in Italy, but culturally, is whiskey, it's not maybe as popular as other European countries?
It's not as much, no, but you're right. We have some, and I discovered it afterwards, to be fair. All I knew was that my grandpa used to drink Langrand, but not grew up in a whiskey drinking family. My mother doesn't drink alcohol whatsoever. So I got from my father, who prefers like growing up, he always used to order grappa bianca secca. So grappas and other maybe liqueurs as well sometimes, but more like herbal rather than sweet. So yeah, that's I've started. I don't remember exactly how it started. I remember visiting the first distillery I've ever visited was Bushmills in Ireland, and I was there and I had already tried some whiskies. But I was interested, but I wasn't that hooked. I was more into craft beers, and the scene in Milan is actually quite good. It was quite interesting, but so yeah, I started trying that. Really liked it, and then I think what drew me was I started trying a few that I really liked. And I think. Contrary to other people, maybe one of the first drams that I really loved was Lafroig. I remember trying it in one of the Milan bars. And then I went to this Milan Whiskey Festival, trying it. And I went to a master class there. by the author of, if you hang on a second, I actually have the book. I'll be right there.
It reminds me of when we were speaking to Ross from Bevy, and he just kept going into his cupboard to get more and more whiskey, Mike.
I think.
There you go. So serial malt. So there was this.
I think it was one of my last two.
Yeah, there was this presentation, and it's iconic whiskey, so it's all about flavor profiles, and we were trying a Glendronach back then, and I just fell in love with it. So after that, I got hooked, and started just trying as many as I could. My mum, despite not drinking, decided to fund my passion, so I got a bottle of Cask Still Glendronach for my degree, and afterwards just traveling around, and then I did a few different things. I studied foreign languages and political science, basically cultural mediation. I don't know exactly, but it's basically a mix of languages and political sciences. I was in Russia for a wee bit, thinking of staying there and actually learn the language. I was there as a volunteer teaching languages. And then there was an opportunity to study journalism in Scotland. I just doing some research. It came up. And everyone was like, well, if you liked Ireland, then Scotland is even better. So moved to Glasgow, here I am. And then I did, since moving to Glasgow, I started just going to any distillery I could go to, anything that I could put my hands on to learn more. And during my studies then, studying journalism, then I started a wee blog called The Malting Pot. And afterwards, thanks to that, I wrote to Cask Still Magazine to do work experience there, because I saw this beautiful cover with Irish setter in front and a giant cask, and I just remember that was like, I was like, oh, I really love this magazine. I really we needed to go and search for work experience. So I was like, can I come and help you, please? And they got me, and I spent there, I just still remember it was lovely, just commuting from Glasgow to Edinburgh, but it was just lovely to be in their newsroom there. And they also write Scottish Fields, so it's all in one, so worked a bit there, and they gave me a lot of good tips and stories to write about whiskey. And then I went to work to the Scotch Whisky Experience, thanks to that, for a year. So I learned a lot there. It was such a good experience. And I still meet a lot of people that come from there, because some have gone to become distillers, some have just gone into communications. Some are doing completely different things, but it's just really cool. It's one of the best, I think, places in terms of colleagues. I think it was just a really wonderful community, and we're still in touch. And then opportunity for reporting came here, and I moved up here in Inverness.
Fantastic. Do you know, we speak to a lot of people on the Blether who've got that same connection with the I've just forgotten, Scotch Whisky, the
Scotch Whisky, Scotch Whisky Experience.
Scotch Whisky Experience. So yeah, it does seem to set people on the right path, or whether, I don't know, it just helps with build confidence talking about whiskey, or whether it helps, I don't know, like open doors. But yeah, quite a few people we've spoken to have got that in common, at least, that they started out there. And you're right, they go on to do all sorts of things, from becoming distillers to, you know, whiskey writers to whiskey influencers, all sorts of things.
I guess you're based in Edinburgh, it's a great place for students with an interest in whiskey to get maybe a part-time job, a summer job. They then get the bug, and it's like, you know, because whiskey is certainly an industry, it gets under your skin. And you struggle to let go of it, don't you? Once it's once you've got that, you might do other jobs, but you'll always have your eye on it, like yourself. You've always got your eye on the whiskey, even though you've got other things to report about.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
I think that has that kind of appeal. Obviously, being in Edinburgh, it's a great location for people to get that grounding, get that confidence, that basic knowledge to then go off and explore.
Definitely. I remember they just invested so much in training us, it was like the bonding sort of experience that you had there is the fact that I think the great thing of being in a whiskey shop that is not a like a brand retailer. It means that you have basically all across the board and you're not biased towards any sort of, instead of working maybe in a distillery, like you learn more of the practical side there, but there was a really good overall landscape of what's produced in Scotland. So no, it was a really, really fantastic experience. And again, a lot of very hard practical training, awful, terrible. You need to know what's in the shop. It was honest. It was so hard to get through that. The next day, but no,
it's dedicated to your learning.
I think it's important to be a good student. I like to, and when you want to sell, you will know more than anyone. But when you want to sell something to someone, you need to know your stuff, and you want to make it better. So there's no other way of making tailored recommendation rather than trying them yourself. Isn't there?
It's very true, actually. You can always talk about something easier if you've tried it, can't you? Than as opposed to just kind of elaborating on the tasting notes at the back of the bottle.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. How many times do you have training sessions, study sessions over there?
Not enough, Mike.
Not enough, I know.
Sorry, did I put you on the spot?
We're not biased when we have a whiskey shop, but we can still be biased. But it's an honest bias. We're not biased because we're told to like something or sell something. We're biased because we like it and we've tried it and we enjoy it. And the great thing is maybe the story of it that we've been to visit the distillery and we really get that feel for it, that sense of kind of belonging to a distillery. I think Isla's a fantastic example of that. You go to Isla and you just fall in love with the place, even if you're a non-whiskey drinker, and the respect you then get for the guys who are working or the distillery staff, and you fall in love with it that way. And I do believe that no matter what the whiskey tastes like, if you respect it and you know a bit about it and you meet the people putting it in the bottle, you enjoy that just that little bit more. And if you're having a good time, you'll remember that whiskey. You'll remember having a good time drinking that whiskey, and it always has a happy little place in your heart there. You see it in a bar, and it's a story to tell. Oh, I remember being there. We'll have a dram of that, and you buy that because you remember that great memory, and that's how you introduce it to somebody else as well.
Definitely. Memories, good memories.
I know, because you often tell the story of I can't remember who your story is about, Mike, but there's it was somebody they bought the cheapest bottle of blend off the shelf, but they had the very, very best day. They'd gone fishing or something, and it was not.
You might have heard of him. It's a guy called Charlie McLean.
Okay.
Oh, right. That's your story about.
Just
should have remembered that it was something that relevant that your story was about.
So this rather irrelevant little man called Charlie McLean decided he every year he went on a fishing trip with his friends, and being who he is, it was his job to take the whiskey for after the fishing. They would go they had a bothy and they would meet in the bothy and have a few drams and get the fire on and just have a good time. And in his haste to get ready and go, he forgot the whiskey, so he stopped off on the way and grabbed a bottle, and after the fishing had a great day of fishing, a couple of beers, the fire was on, all had a great laugh, and it was, oh well, Charlie, let's get the whiskey out, let's see what you've got for us this time. So he pours it blind and they all go in and, oh Charlie, this is great, you've outdone yourself this time, this is an amazing jam. So the big reveal, what is it? and it was like a price-marked bottle of White Mackay, you know, something that's quite standard off the shelf, and nobody could believe it. They'd bragging about it, you know. But it does, yeah. It's if you're enjoying the moment, the whiskey almost becomes a compliment to that, doesn't it, rather than the main part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it just it is best shared and in a good moment.
I always think sometimes it's kind of like the skill of not picking up my own second profession, but sometimes it's the skill of a guide. You know, a lot of people look at a tour guide and think that you've just learned a script handed down from some multinational company, but like a good guide is a lot more than that, isn't it? You've got to read the group, you've got to like tailor how you're giving the story. You've got to retell the story every time, depending on the group you've got. And sometimes you remember a distillery just because either how good the guide was, or sometimes how bad the guide was. And you're like, I'm not sure I'm going to go back to that one. Other times you're like, oh my God, I've got to go back to that distillery. That person is a legend. Like, what a rock star. Like, loved it. So, yeah, sometimes it's just in the telling of the story. Not that I'm saying that, you know, it's all that, but a good guide is a very important part of the distillery journey.
Yeah, I mean, you go, and I've, through the job, we also do whiskey tours as well as classes and stuff, not just the shop, but I get to see guides in action, and it's the same guide. So, you know, sometimes it's like one of my first ever jobs. My first business was wedding videos, and I used to film weddings. And you heard the same old best man speeches. And they had to edit it, and you're like, oh my God, I know this one. Oh, yeah, that was so bad. That was crap the first time I heard it. It's still crap 50 times after. But you get the same jokes in I guess any tour guide, because it's different people, so they hear it for the first time. But there are some guys who captivate, even though I've done the tour 20 times with them. They still hold, because they've just got a little bit, and then you may be laughing at one joke and you miss the bit afterwards, so you get the chance to pick up that. And it's, you know, it's like a good movie where, you know, a good quote, like With Nolan Eye is my favorite film, and it's so quotable. You forget how many lines are in it. It's amazing. A good guide will have that. You can watch it over and over and over again and still really enjoy it. So, yeah, absolutely spot on. I'm not saying that you were one of those guys, but, you know, perhaps.
I was waiting for it. I was like, any minute.
I had a wonderful tour with you, so
Thank you.
it was I can vouch on your behalf on that. But yeah, it's all about storytelling, and that's, I think, what, I don't know, that's what draws me to whiskey, the stories behind it, and like otherwise it's not just what you're drinking, that's all the things that are connected to it, and whether it's the nerdy, quirky, sciencey bit behind it. I don't know. I've always hated sciences, and then I discovered whiskey, and I'm like, oh, I want to learn how this works. Mm-hmm. I've always been a terrible person. I've never understood sciences, and now I'm like, oh, that's how does this ferment? How does the get? I think, yeah, it just gets you. I think.
It does.
In terms of
tiny little wee nuances between each distillery have such a drastic effect on like the spirit at the end. And yeah, some of it's science, some of it is the place, you know, the terroir, the people. And it's all captured in this like little wee glass of whiskey. I never get bored of that. So it must be fun to write about it, you know, and get to visit the places.
I think the visiting places and just speaking to the people that are part of the word, that's, I don't know, I think for the last for the last issue, I was randomly I just was like, oh, I need to learn more about rye whiskey and the actual grain. So who should I speak to? Who's famous for making rye? And I was on a Zoom call with the master distiller at Cura one day, and I was like, this is so random, but I love it. They're preparing for their summer festival. That's amazing. I think it's just the buzz that gives it to meet people that are so good and passionate about their job. That's with journalism a lot, but in general, I think that with whiskey is more like, it's just so much part of that world that I can't get rid of it. And I think that then you start maybe wanting to know more about other spirits as well. So I think the love that you might have for whiskey, that just expands to other things, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful world.
It is. It's quite addictive, isn't it? It's a bit of a rabbit hole. You kind of get really into something and you start researching that, and then that leads you onto something else. You're like, oh, I didn't know that. And then that leads you onto something else. And you just, yeah, it's quite addictive. Every day's a school day in the whiskey world, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you get underneath the facade, when you go to a visitor centre or you do a tour, and obviously the script or the tour guide there's a level of knowledge there on the surface that is catered to, across the board, because there'll be a lot of people there who aren't in the whiskey, or are just there for an interest sake, or they have a little interest, but you have that kind of base knowledge where you tell everyone, and then underneath is all the geekery. So I think your tour guide needs to know a little bit of that extra knowledge. But if you're on a guide and you meet the stillman or you meet one of the maltmen and get chatted to them, it's an amazing experience to be able to get involved there. And that's where you get what I call the evolution of myth, the evolution of fact, where you kind of, one thing you thought was set in stone, like sherry casks. Everyone thinks that sherry casks come from Spain and it's all the great sherry that's in there. And then you realize, well, no, it's not actually. It's a seasoned casks. So things like that where you think is fact, you learn off a comment from a stillman or a tour guide or something. You're like, oh, wait a minute, that's not what I thought. And then you do a bit of digging. Well, actually, the practical side of it's completely different to the romance and the story. And you start to go down that rabbit hole. It's like, wow, this is there's so much more in the science, the romance of it and the basic tour you get or the basic knowledge that you get. It's absolutely just the surface.
Yes, I think a lot of new distilleries as well are actually delving deeper into like the geeky side of things, like landrace and heritage barley and yeast strains and fermentation times and things like that.
I think knowledge has grown so much in the last 20 years that they have to have that background knowledge.
I think it's because we're kind of moving away from the mass produced as well, isn't it? For a long time, everybody just wanted volume of whiskey, but now we know that, by sacrificing certain things, whiskey all kind of became very, very similar. But, we want to get back to that kind of traditional, hello, wee man.
Hello.
They're becoming a regular interruption for the Blether.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of the sweater there. I love the dinosaur sweater. That's really cool.
There's a way to have his bath.
Nice.
You have a bath because you stink. You stinky.
How rude. What are you saying, Ken?
Yeah, and Rick, look at that hair. I'm uber jealous. Not fair. When you're old enough, I'm going to transplant it, and I'm going to. He is over 18, guys. In case you're wondering.
He has become like just the sort of was like the halfway through. Usually I let my hair down, and then about like 45 minutes through, we get Killian before his bath. It's become like the regular slots.
I guess it's nice to have those certain things that are sort of constant, and just having that space.
I know, he's like a little unfit.
Why are these people looking at me?
Federica, she could be the first Italian person you've spoken to.
Ciao!
Yeah.
Nice.
Ciao. Say ciao. You go shy.
Yeah, I wouldn't give me too much confidence either. Not to worry.
Good night, little man.
Night, Killian.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao. He's cute.
Anyway, back to whiskey.
He's very cute. Talking of all things Italy, so I've been reading quite a bit about Samaroli, the very, very famous whiskey importer. There was a really good article released about him recently, wasn't there? I can't remember who wrote it. Was it Somebody shared it anyway on Facebook or something.
It wasn't me, but and I don't think I've seen it. But there's been, I think, back in the, I would say 1670s probably. Again, might be wrong again. There's something I've not really studied for a wee while. But there used to be Savaroli and a few other like whiskey importers that found that there was bottlers and importers in general found that not only Glengrant was famous in Italy, so but Glengrant is the one that you can get everywhere right now, to be fair. It's the one that you find in the supermarkets, although you can now find a few more, I think. Well, the big cities, you can find a few more. And I was actually quite surprised. Do you remember when Diageo released the Game of Thrones series? And I found the frozen Johnny Walker.
The White Walker.
The White Walker. There you go. Getting the right words tonight. Yes. I'm doing it. And I found it like at half the price, basically, in random like Italian supermarket. So I was like, yeah, I'm getting this. You're coming home with me, or a couple like there, and I was like, oh, I could easily get a few bottles here and spend half of, maybe not half, but a considerable amount of money less than what I buy them for in Scotland. And I was like, they make them there, bloody taxes.
Yeah.
And in France as well, my partner's father lives in France. So I remember going there and we were like just in a random, like even little village sort of supermarket. Like it wasn't a big city or anything. And they had so many at such good prices. Of course, Glenmorangie and some of their favorites, but it was just like, yeah, that's really good price. I'm a bit jealous. And I can't really transport that as many, like, it wouldn't make much sense to buy them in Italy and get them back here. So I just have a lot in Italy that I'm not drinking as much as I'd want to because I'm away.
I think quite often people will go abroad just to try and pick up a special release cheaper and then come back with it and sell it on, don't they? Like that's how they make their money. And also you get a nice holiday out as well.
Things like that where you can only buy in the airport, they'll do that, and they'll sell it in the secondary market, and that covers the cost of the flight plus the bottle plus a bit of profit on the side.
So do you know what I was looking at the other day? The Macallan claw hand thing.
The reach.
The reach.
Yes.
Yeah. Big news.
That looks so cool.
Yeah, Meldrum House Hotel, where we did the joint press thing with when we met, they've actually bought it. So it's on display at the hotel, because I was up there for lunch the other day as part of a training day with work. And we'd gone down into the whiskey locker, which is part of the cave bar.
Oh, yes, nice. That was so cool.
It's so cool. So we've got our own locker in there. So we'd gone down just as part of the training to show the guys, this is what you do. This is your locker. And usually I would just go and open the door and like shout to the barman, throw us the keys. He's like, no, I have to take you in now. So it's a bit weird, but okay. So went in. My colleague was like, Kat, see that whiskey at the back there? Is that quite an expensive one? And I looked at it. I was like, well, if it was real, then yes, that would be very, very expensive. I kind of left again. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, wait, why would somebody just put a fake reach in a recess in a wall? So I kind of called, the general manager came through. I was like, sorry, just can you just clarify the hands? He's like, yes, yeah, that's real. That's why you're not allowed in without like a member of staff. So yeah, only 2 hotels have bought it.
The reach is where the lockers are. That's where the reach is. That's where the bottle is.
Yeah. So if you step down into the lockers, at the very back of the room, I think there's like an old bread oven in the old days.
Yeah.
It's kind of just been fitted into the wall in a special kind of bespoke wooden. It's beautiful how they've displayed it, and then just like a glass front on it.
They're selling £8,000 a nip, I think they're selling it for.
That's what I saw on the Press and Journal Facebook page. But I haven't heard that from Hotel. That's what I saw anyway in the newspaper. But what a fuss getting it back out of the bottle. Just for a nip.
I think
That's
there's going to
cool.
be like four people surveying the pouring of that dram, I think, every time.
I can't imagine.
There's going to be bodyguards and
I know.
the guys in hazmat
With
coming through.
Not with a paintball gun, but at least soft air guns are like, no, don't you dare, that's too much. Nope.
Imagine being the bar staff pouring it, your hands would be like.
Oh God! Well, when I was at the shop at the Scotch Whisky Experience, I don't know what if you have any like super high value bottles in your shop, but when you have those that are like 25,000, we had a couple that were like 25,000, 27,000 pounds, and they were of course in a closed cabinet. You needed to open it, and sometimes you have to dust them, and it was so nerve-wracking. I was like, slowly, please don't break. It was interesting. Thankfully, it happened just a couple of times as around for that one in particular. But I think
it's when you see the entries at the Distillers 101 auction, and you're looking at these beautiful pieces of artwork, and you think, oh my God, somebody's transported that from Brora or Isla and it's come all this way and it's survived intact. Can you imagine taking it out of the packing box and just the bottom corners falling off? You're like, oh my God. I couldn't deal with that stress. It's amazing.
That you need a lot of drams after that to release the stress.
You would.
Probably record it as well.
Right. Well, this is how do you get into half of them? Let's say you bought it and it's literally a bottle inside a sculpture of a sea stack. How would you get into that if you want just a wee dram one night? You'd be like, guys, come and see this Bamora I've got. Hang on a second while I chisel the top off so we can get in for a dram.
That's why they're so expensive. You should buy a new box every time you have a dram.
Yeah, Isla just has to send over another piece of sea stack every time you want to put it back in there.
It's getting very expensive now.
Oh, wait. There must be like a
a lot of these aren't meant for drinking, are they? The whiskey is, but once it's in the bottle and once it's displayed, it's more like a work of art, really, isn't it?
I think so.
For a cause like that, you can forgive, that one of one where they raise so much money. You can kind of forgive that a wee bit.
Yeah, no, it's for a good cause, and the money they raise is absolutely amazing. It's all for disadvantaged children in Scotland, so it's a fantastic thing they do.
That is a good cause, yeah.
It is. But no, I was quite impressed with it when I first saw the Reach decanter. I wasn't too sure about it, but see up close, it's actually beautiful. I was really impressed with it. It's just I don't know. I like weird stuff. If I've got like a decanter that looks like creepy hands, I'm okay with that. But yeah, it would take up a lot of space. I would never fit it on my crappy whiskey shelf, that's for sure.
Have you got your whiskey shelf up, Kat? I was going to ask you about that.
I know. I was hoping to get one before we restarted. I just haven't. Every time I've got money, my car breaks. So unless I just put my whiskey in my car and do the blether from my car, it's just not worth.
That's what cars are for, just breaking down when you least need it.
I'm thinking that David Muir must be very busy because he hasn't commented on it yet. So
I noticed that. I did notice that. She needs a raise, Mike. Do you know what, Rick? You've always been my favourite person.
I'll help her raise the whiskey shelf. No problem at all. I'll come round and help put that up.
You help me put my whiskey shelf up. That's very considerate of you. Thank you very much.
There you go, the DIY people. Come on you go.
That's true, actually. Between everybody watching tonight, I reckon we could you get those TV shows, don't you, where people turn up and do over your living room in an hour and make it look really nice. So we could just do the Blether mashup with a sort of DIY show. We should totally
get
do
Alan
that.
Titchmarsh for a Blether and drop the hint.
No, I don't think I fancy him coming around. We'll get somebody else. He's a bit creepy.
Is none of these famous DIY guys got their own celebrity whiskey launch that we could get them on a chatter about?
Oh, maybe. We should probably get Sam Hewen from Outlander to talk about his whiskey at some point, I'd imagine. Just, just for a broad spectrum of whiskey. Not because he's, good looking or anything like that. I'm not that.
Just the quality of the whiskey.
Exactly. I've never actually tried the Sassenach. We had it for about 5 minutes, didn't we? It was sold out like overnight, didn't it?
Yeah. The Sassenach, isn't it? Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
He's taking it a gin now, I think.
He has.
Going down that route. Yeah.
Are you doing any other releases of the Sassenach?
To be honest, we haven't really paid much attention to the celebrity endorsed kind of whiskies. We've had a couple of them, but it's something that we're not really that interested in. If you're watching, Sam, we'd still have you on as a guest, though, definitely. And Rod Stewart, we'll get him on as well, and Jack and Victor, and Iron Maiden, and all these guys are more
Metallica.
Won't turn you down.
Dave Ferguson's going to start a fundraising page for you, Kat, to get your whiskey sales up.
A GoFundMe page for my whiskey shelf. Thank you very much. That's a cracking idea, Dave. Let's get that on the go. And then for the whiskey afterwards, because nothing looks worse than a big empty shelf. So we might have to just make it a campaign.
See, there's so many whiskey challenges now for fundraising. What challenge would you do if you wanted to raise money for your whiskey shelf?
Oh God.
I think you should shave your head.
Oh, do you know what?
I did it.
Pretty quick, but I'm not just going to make you feel better. Can you imagine? I think you should shave your head, or shave your beard. I can't imagine what you'd look like without a beard.
Well, you've seen a little version of me just about 10 minutes ago.
So like that.
Yeah, a little bit like that.
They do like a whiskey. Where in Speyside they do like a race, don't they? Is that like a
dramathon?
Dramathon, yeah.
That's right. Have you either of you guys? Are you coming up to cover any of the Speyside Whiskey Festival?
Yes, first year. I've never been, so I'm like, yes. I'm taking the week off.
Fantastic. So you looked into a few things, or is it all just work related, or?
For the moment, work related, so I can't say much, but I'm gonna have a look at what's what, and during the actual week, I think we might have a look a bit before that, but again, can't say much.
Yeah, amazing. I've been speaking to somebody from the festival in the hope that we might get somebody on the Blether soon to talk about some of the really cool, because like when I read the itinerary of events, there's some amazing stuff happening, and so much, you could just book into stuff all day, every day for a week, really, couldn't you? And just be kept busy for the whole week. Absolutely fantastic. Mike, I think you're booked into a couple of things, right? Or were you undecided, or?
I'm undecided because I've got a tour on the Saturday, so I'm driving on the Saturday, which kind of negates the Friday, so I can't really do anything on the Friday, so it limits what I can do. But I'll have a look at what's left, probably. Robin Lang's up on the Thursday night doing something in Elgin, but it's Blether night, so could I do the Blether alongside Robin and just kind of record and hijack that? That would be cool.
That would be cool. I mean, chances are, how I operate, chances are I've maybe not even got anybody booked for that night, so you might get away with it.
Double try the calendar, or maybe just do one like a Blether on tour.
Oh my God, we should do that. I'd love to do a Blether live from Fisheel one year. If we could sort that out, that would be awesome. But Blether live.
I'm not sure of we speak gibberish anyway. imagine after a day in Isla what would be speaking.
That's true, actually. It would have to maybe do it after watershed, like after 8 o'clock,
Maybe.
just in case we offended it.
Or like set on an AI to just bleep out anything that is potentially libelous or something, just in case.
We've got Chris Sunken who's joined us on Facebook. Hi, Chris. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. Say
Hi
hello
there.
to you. Where else have we got? Steve Hay says you don't want people who have been drinking whiskey putting your shelves up. Very true.
Before the whiskey, and then you deserve the whiskey. So
yeah. Timing.
Because then if you have to read the instructions in Swedish, then it's a bit of a hassle. If you also are after a few drums in, so
both Keith and David are getting fed up of the DIY, so they're looking for a dram now. So good, good,
well deserved.
Talking
Honor
of
to
Irish
you guys.
dram. Do you remember this one, Kat? This is one that we got from.
I love this.
Predominantly red wine, Fagile Big Pete from last year.
Oh, nice.
We had a Blether with Douglas Lang, and they sent us a sample of this, and both Kat and I think while we're still on the Blether, bought a bottle online and got it. So
Dougal was sitting chatting. He's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's sold out." We're both like googling it, thinking, "No, we need to get this before it's actually officially gone."
It's sold out. It's sold out. Don't go and look. Nobody else go and look.
That was it. Exactly.
To save another bottle arriving at the house, I got delivered to the shop, and I have to admit I completely forgot about it until we're clearing out the store and things. I found it again. I'm like,
no way.
Oh, it's amazing. So we've talked a lot of peaty whiskey. We've talked a lot of Isla, so I thought that's my next dram.
It's absolutely beautiful, really good. Actually, I'd forgotten about that because with my extensive whiskey collection on the floor behind me, it's kind of got lost in there. But that might have to be my next one. It's so nice, really good.
That sounds really good. I've tried the other releases of the Big Pete, but that one sounds lovely.
Yeah, Douglas Lane did some really nice stuff. I mean, I think I've always got the Timorous Beastie in the house. I think it's like such a nice go-to, just easy drinker, kind of fun jam, to be honest. And it's not a bad price either. It's just one of those ones you can pick up and just have sitting. They do some really good stuff.
Galloway's probably my go-to, but I do think the Big Pete is the one that's got that real big flavour that just stands out. It's a really cracking jam. Just that red wine hint on it is little berries going on there, and it's just nice and juicy.
Sometimes with red wine and peat, sometimes it's a clash and it doesn't work, and sometimes it just works really well. I think it just depends on the whiskey and the wine.
I think they've managed to balance. I just noticed for the first time in the bottle it says finished predominantly in red wine casks. They've obviously kept some of that full bourbon casks in there to offset that kind of possibly the tannins or maybe a bit of over tartness in it, but it's a good whiskey. Really nice.
So as an Italian, Federica, do you like a wine finish? Because you've obviously a country of good wine.
I do actually. I actually have for my second dram. I have a Tuscan wine finish.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the distillery. I can never remember how to pronounce the name.
Pronunciation. Banachalish.
Banachalish, yeah.
I think so, yeah. Just I think I've asked it 50 times, and it's one of the whiskeys that I was just like, oh, I've never heard of it, and I wouldn't say one of my go-to because I have just one bottle there, but it would be one of my go-to if I had more bottles on the shelves. So I need to buy more soon.
It's a nightmare to Google it. It's a nightmare to Google because you can never spell it right.
What is it? It's like, it means like the itchy armpit or something. What does it mean? Or it's like the.
So yeah, it's the word translates, I think, literally as oxter.
Okay.
So it's like the bush of the oxter or the hairy oxter is kind of the literal meaning, but it's a coastal feature. It's like the shape of the bay,
like a bay,
looks like an armpit. So the word Halish, I think, is the feature is named after the shape of an oxter. But if you were to do it literally, it means the hair of the oxter or something like the hairy armpit or something like that. Which doesn't sound too great. I mean, if you put that in the tasting notes, I'm not sure you'd sell many bottles.
You'll be amused by this. I have to Google oxter because I had no idea what it meant.
or armpit, yeah.
No, yeah, it's a word I've never. I was talking just today about words I never heard or used. So today was and I've forgotten again, the handle of the sword. How do you call that again? Hilt.
Yeah, I guess that's a word that doesn't come up in conversation very often. Like,
Swords are about nowadays, to be honest.
No, we don't often use a sword.
Common in the 1700s, I think, but no, never.
You say that, but I was doing the speeches for a burn supper last weekend, and the main speaker was brandishing a sword with,
nice.
And I was like, he kind of whispered to me, "You'll have to step back. I'm going to fetch the big sword." I'm like, okay. Step back, and out this sword comes, and he's flailing about and tottering about in my heels, trying to get out of his way, thinking, Jesus, where's he going next with this sword? So yeah, I mean, they appear now and again in society, but
I have one in my house.
You got a sword in your house?
It was my Christmas present.
I love that.
I got a replica from my boyfriend who kept the secret for, I think, at least a month. And he was like, it's very unpractical. Oh, I'm not entirely sure it's going to fit in your car. I was like, what the hell did you buy me? And then he comes out and it's a replica of Andúril from The Lord of the Rings. But it's almost tall as I am. So I've tried I feel extremely, I think that Sting would have probably been more my sort of ideal height, but is there to be hung on the wall. Again, DIY people, if anyone has a drill, I don't know one. So if anyone can help, a dram is always there to say thanks.
I really hope you just use that on a daily basis. Like, your post arrives and you just use it to open your letters.
Open bottle of champagne.
First thing, I don't know. Have you guys ever tried Pandoro?
No.
I was almost trying to it's like an Italian cake. There's been a massive gate on this in Italy, but long story. But it's an Italian classic cake, I would say, for it's like a bready sort of cake for spongy almost. You have to ferment it a lot as and it's something that you have at Christmas. So you might see it at Lidl randomly if you see some I don't know, octagonal shape, like a tall cake that might be Pandoro. So on Christmas Day, I was just like, let's cut this in style. So see, when you're a kid and you have all your toys and you get those Christmas presents which are actually useless on one side, but they're so much fun. I was like, this is like being back as a kid, like Christmas as a kid. So that was nice.
It's good when you have somebody in your life that just knows you and knows that a giant replica sword is what you need in life.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's on today because he's very much, I think, working tonight, but I'll tell him.
That's what you need.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Any weapons in your house?
Oh, don't even. I'm a fan of a knife, as Mike well knows. But I've got quite a lot of knives.
I used to collect.
Used to collect. Well, you were in the army.
I was army cadet, but this was before that. Or kind of as a sideline. It wasn't guns or anything. It was maces and axes and replica pistols and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, but we had one of our friends has got or had. I'm not sure if he still has them, but he had a bedroom display, and he's older enough. So he must be in his 60s anyway. But you go into his bedroom, and they've got the double bed for him and his missus, and all around it is shields and broadswords and maces and crossbows and everything. I'm like, you guys are up to some kinky shit in here, aren't you? Not the kind of room I would have that stuff in.
Just don't get too drunk, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
End up with your
I
head
can
in a
go
bear
down
trap and you get home drunk. Cool it off.
I love crossbows though. Like it's so like you don't see many sort of archery bits around, but it's so fascinating.
My friend, her one stipulation for if she was dating, she won't date a man that doesn't know the difference between a crossbow and a trebuchet. Like a slingshot and a trebuchet. I'm like, yeah, like, why is that relevant though? You know, unless we're under siege, you know, and you shout "fetch the trebuchet" and he turns up with a, you know, like a catapult. Like, I can't think when that would be a requirement, but you've got to stick to your standard.
I think that's important though. Like you want to choose your close allies well, just in case. So they need to learn the difference so that just in case you can fight back.
You don't want to be the idiot there with a trebuchet when, you know, a slingshot was
maybe
what
in a
required.
past life he was a maiden in distress in a castle tower, and somebody came along with a slingshot and destroyed the castle when a trebuchet would have saved it. You know, maybe
that could be it. Repressed Rapunzel kind of like fear.
Yeah.
And destroyed the dragon as well. Just everything.
That must be
yeah,
it.
yeah. So guys who are maybe new to 2024 Blethers, this is the standard that we're setting. Yeah, this is the level. You can completely agree that this is unscripted stuff. Off the but I'm going to take us back. Rick has got us back on the whiskey trail just now. So, Federica, you mentioned Christmas presents, and we're going back to Christmas. We haven't done this. We I suppose having that month break, we kind of forget Christmas and New Year and things. But what was your favourite Christmas dram of the holiday season? We'll pitch that to you guys, and then I'll say mine.
I have to think about it. I think that I opened up one that I had been waiting to open up for a wee while, which is an Edradour hibiscus, which I had there for quite a long time, like the sherry version, and it's basically mahogany color. And I had been waiting for quite a while to open it, so that was like, that's my wee treat. And the usual Lafroig, to be fair, I just can't, like a night with a wee Lafroig after a few wines, can't beat it.
That's true. You know, I think me and you should be best friends forever, to be honest. I think I like your style. Do you know what my Christmas dram was? And I went to my mother's for dinner. And my stepdad's not a big whiskey fan, and my mother doesn't drink whiskey at all. And I just took a Annock. I always say it wrong. Annock.
Annock's where the castle where Harry Potter was filmed. I think Annock is up locally here. That's how I try and remember it.
Annock. Okay. So I took that over, and it's such an easy drinking, yummy whiskey. Like, it's just the ultimate crowd pleaser. My mom makes the best Irish coffee, and see it.
Nice.
It was so good. And like, I was the only person drinking it, really. And I was like, oh my God, what's happened to that bottle? Mum's like, you just drank it. And like,
evaporation, as the angels share. Not me.
But it's just
nice.
It's such an underrated whiskey, and one of the prettiest distilleries I've come across. Like, you see, if you come into Scotland and you've got this image in your head of the ideal Scottish distillery, it's that distillery, Knockdhu Distillery. It's just nestled in the bottom of that valley with the hill behind it, with the wee pagodas. It's just gorgeous. Such an underrated whiskey. So that was mine.
Mine is right here. This would have to be mine, the 17-year-old Glencairn.
Oh, wow. Look how dark that is.
Nice.
It's like the colour of my shirt.
It really is.
Absolutely. So that and I actually opened a rum, the Diplomatico Selection de Famille was was my two go-tos for Christmas. Absolutely superb drams. And I opened, what was the other one I had? I had the Jericho from the Lost Distillery Company. I had
That's
there.
Oh,
When I took round to the folks with mum and dad's house the next day, and yeah, that bottle was finished on that day. So that was
testament to the quality.
It
was a
more
lost
of the kind of
bottle.
end of the nurture kind of dram, which is why I've still got a bit. We've got some great suggestions. Willis Peel had a James Deedy 10-year-old Aberlour. Chris had a Glendronach hand bottle.
Oh, nice. I'm partial to a Glendronach. I do like one. I've not had one in ages. I finished my stash. I need to
You like
go
a
back.
sweet whiskey by the sounds of things.
We've got a couple of questions. One, two cracking questions coming in, actually. Rob, he had to go and do a work call, so he's missed it. So no, Rob, this question hasn't come up. We're talking about drams at Christmas, but do you have a most memorable or unicorn dram that just stands out for you? It just says, that this is the one dram to beat for the rest of my whiskey journey.
I think that there was one dram that I had, and it was actually when I met Rob. we were at a distillery in Oglar, Port Charlotte, Bruichladdich. It was my first time ever there. I was just randomly there, a bit tipsy, and we went to this warehouse tasting, and we had the oh good lord, Mouton Rothschild cask, MRC, but straight from the cask. I think it was a 1992 one. That I just absolutely fell in love with that. It was so good. And after a wee while, the days continued the MRC, and I was extremely, extremely disappointed. They have some good stuff, but I really like a Port Charlotte. But that one was that moment of I was on my own camping around Isla, having no idea what to do, and that was just like, oh my god. After that, Rob and Van gave me a lift to Kilchoman, and I tried to plant a tent there. And I wasn't successful because Mahir Bay is so windy. So I would say everyone who wants to try that, don't try that. I'm like, okay, let's probably ask for a lift back to somewhere where it's a bit more sheltered. So that was a brilliant day, and it was the warmest ever, I think, Feishile. It was so warm. So yeah, that dram was amazing.
Super. Kat, how about you?
Oh, God.
It's such a hard question, isn't
it because like people ask me this and I can't remember, and then afterwards I'm like, oh my god, why didn't I remember that at the time when somebody asked me? I mean, okay, so I tried not to go on brand again, but I did try a very, very special, very old 1958 Glengarry quite recently. It was like a refill hoggy, and it was absolutely amazing. So good. Yeah, that was a pretty special moment. We had it up at Meldrum House, and it was as part of a press trip with Christopher Coates from the Whisky magazine, and it's just been a really fun afternoon. And we were just kind of sitting in front of the fire, and we were just chatting, and just this whiskey, it was just absolutely beautiful. That and a Glenglassa, like a 40 or something year old Glenglassa that was in an Italian wine cask. Really, really yum. So therefore my two kind of unicorns. I also wish I'd been on a unicorn while breeding them. That would have
if you had two of them, you could breed them. That would be amazing.
Oh, that would be amazing. But Glenglass is another one of those distilleries that are just so underrated. Like, it's one of the prettiest. It's just such a gorgeous distillery, and yeah, really underrated. Really underrated whiskey. What's your one, Mike?
For me, again, two that stand out, but one is more kind of the occasion and the experience of drinking it rather than the whiskey itself. Over in Isla, I was doing the Isla Whiskey Academy. And we met a lad called Hunter Jackson, who is one of the farmers who grows the barley for Brookledding, and his wife he'd got a cask. I can't remember if he bought the cask or got a cask as part of the contract, but he bottled it, and his wife had recently passed with cancer, and he'd bottled it and labelled it up as Carol Ann's dram. So after the academy had finished, we were back at our accommodation. Everyone came back to me and Paul's accommodation for some reason. We had lots of whiskey with us. I think that might have been the case. But we were sitting in at the end of the academy. Hunter came round and sat and had a dram. So we cracked open a bottle with him. So this bottle that this cask that he'd selected, and just having a dram with him and talking to him about it. That's always going to have a kind of wee special moment for us. And the whiskey was great. It helped that it was banging stuff as well. Absolutely. But in terms of just pure liquid, I think Morrison Mackay released Colila sherry cask as part of their Black Gold series. And this would have been 2016, 17, I think. It was when Peter Mackay was still there. So, and that was 1988 Colila. And it was like drinking fruit pastels. It was so juicy. And when people ask me what standout dram for me was, I think it's because it's so different from Colila. What we get is a core range. You know, often the indie bottlers are quite young, or quite peated in bourbon cask, and this was just so if we're going for whiskey alone, that would be my unicorn. Just an absolutely banging dram. So Rob, you asked the question. I know what yours is. David Atter's was a Blether 11 and an Oloroso sherry cask. That was his unicorn dram. He's watching on Facebook. So yeah. The next question I've got for you guys, it's more of an observation. Rick noticed that both you ladies have mothers who don't drink alcohol. Could your choice of career path have involved a bit of rebellion?
Possibly.
But yeah, possibly. My love for whiskey came from my grandfather, just because he always had a drama Glamorangi, and it was just his kind of like his tipple, like after a day in the greenhouse or a day out in the garden, he would always pour a Glamorangi. So I think it came from that. But yeah, maybe it's a rebellious streak in there as well, potentially. My mom does drink. She just doesn't drink whiskey. She doesn't drink much, but she'll have the odd gin now and again. But yeah, not whiskey. Not a fan. She's not a fan of whiskey at all.
I do feel the grandfather link though, because although I've not spent that much time with my own, but he was someone who loved gardening and everything, and he loved his whiskey, and then he passed me on also love of rugby. So I was like, oh, maybe we should have spent more time together. So
oh wait. Hang on. You love whiskey, you have a dog, and you love rugby. Are you actually my sister?
oh, nice. We talk more often. Why didn't we're not that far?
We should have met. We should have hung out more at the press trip, but you were drinking and I was working, so it wasn't a match made in heaven at the time.
No, we should go out drinking, both of us. So that's probably better. It just should be fairer.
When you come up for Speyside, give me a shout and we'll go out.
Absolutely, yeah. Noted. Yeah. Is Glengarry doing any, or are you guys doing any sort of events around that period?
Probably not. We're Highlands, so we don't fall into Speyside category.
Yeah, because it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Glengarry up to, they're all doing something. So.
Yeah, all right, Mike.
No pressure.
These guys become Speyside for 2 weeks of the year.
If we do or we don't, it's not something I could probably speak about anyway. So,
right.
Who knows? Who knows?
Just a wee bit of intrigue there for the guys at home. Glengarry website, like everyone's jumping on to find out what you're doing.
But talking rugby, who are you going to, apart from Scotland, who are you going to support at the Six Nations? Seeing that we're going that way.
Well, do you know, my dad's a Kiwi, so other than Six Nations, when Scotland's not doing so well, I can always just piggyback onto the All Blacks. You know, like that's a guaranteed win.
That went much better for everyone else at the World Cup.
I know. I mean, like I love Lee Halfpenny. I love the Welsh team. I love the Irish team. And you know what? I love rugby. But Italy, you know, you do your best. And if it wasn't for you guys, you know. I however feel that this year is our year. Like, I don't know, we've been building up so much in the past couple of years with some wins and some really good performances. I'm gonna be very let down if we don't win at least one game this year. Have you got tickets to go and see any matches?
Not for the men's. We're trying to plan a trip to Parma when there's the women's tournament on. So just the trip to Parma just for the rugby, not for all the food that they have there. So so we're planning something for that. And also the Italian team is a bit more, the women's team is a bit more successful than the men's teams.
I mean, Italy have had a management year in sport recently, haven't they? You know, I've said Italy in sport has been very successful recently. You know, you had obviously they won the Euros. Then you got to the final of Wimbledon. In the same
we just won the Australian Open.
Won the Australian Open, yeah. So,
actually, from someone who is not too far. I think the guy is not living too far from Puni Distillery because he's not in that region. So if you want to have a link to that region, there you go. It brings up good stuff.
So confidence is high. Confidence is there, and you know, as long as you don't beat us, well, I'll be all for you guys.
We'll see. Because you have a couple of as much as I'd love Scotland to win the Six Nations, but you have Scotland has a couple of big people going out as well. So
we do. That's our downfall. We kind of rely on some of the big names sometimes, and
I think the squad in that starting 15 is really strong, but we kind of sometimes lack that depth. If we miss one or two key players, it's very obvious.
Yeah.
You look at, you can't see past Ireland really. I think they're just such a good team.
They are
very.
I
know it's nobody's mentioned
against France.
We've been talking about 5 teams, and there is 6 nations. There's
we managed to miss out. We mentioned them all except for one.
Sorry if I mean, they are. They'll talk about themselves enough. We don't need to do that for them.
The English team, because the whole of the coverage up to the point, even when they're not playing, all the coverage is pretty much about how England have played. So we don't even need to talk about them.
But to be fair, like they have some very big names out as well this year, so we'll see how it goes. We start with them, so I hope that my boyfriend is English, so I hope that we have a good match. And I'm not going to say anything else because otherwise it's going to be a tense weekend.
Got some big old players, like some of their guys take a fair amount of the pitch. Like there are some big boys on their team. So yeah. We'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Would it be nice to sorry.
I was going to say, the good thing about rugby is like it's quite a good atmosphere. So even if you're in opposing teams, like it's always good banter. Sometimes football, as much as we all love football, sometimes like it can get a bit argy-bargy, can't it, when people are on opposite teams? But I've never seen that in rugby. It's always good banter.
Absolutely. And I used to be a steward when I first arrived in Glasgow. I used to steward at Ibrox at first. And my first match was the Old Firm game. It was interesting. And then after a wee while, I got to steward at Murrayfield, and I was like, this is not even work. This is not even it's generally just people are just on a better mindset. They're not here to cause problems sometimes. So it's just like, why can't you get that through to football as well? It's just like it's just the love of the sport, and why not just enjoy the sport and yes, have a bit of healthy rivalry, but not just each other down.
When I went to rugby with my dad, he always got us to stand in the All Blacks stand. So like, be with all the Kiwis, and here's me with my wee Scotland flag. But like everyone was always so nice because like if Scotland did well, like all the Kiwis be like, "Come on, hold your scarf up, well done."
Oh,
It was few and far between that ever
Because they
happened.
know we're
But,
not really going to do well against them, isn't it? It's different to support the little, yeah. So oh, look at her. How cute. Know that her team's going to get absolutely smashed. Oh,
I know you've got like a Kiwi guy running straight down the park with like 6 Scottish guys just huddling on to him for dear life. But yeah, no, it's a good sport. It's good fun to watch.
Yeah. Admittedly, I only really watch the Six Nations. That's only rugby I watch, but I enjoy it. I do get into it. It's because we know that Scotland can only really lose 5 games maximum.
hi. We'll see this year, okay? It should be. I think it would be nice to do like a Whisky Six Nations, so get whiskies from all over because now you get you have Puni and you have you also have some French distilleries, so nice to put everything in the mix.
That would be a really good idea, actually. Like a Six Nations tasting pack to send out to watch with to drink with your viewing. That would be good fun. You should totally get on that, market that.
And then at the end of the day, even if your team has lost, you probably, if after 6 whiskeys, usually you're not too bothered. So it's therapy in a way as well.
You always care less after.
That's very true. That's a really good idea.
Talking of great whiskey, Kat, we have Chris Duncan on Facebook. After the tasting, we hosted a tasting at Aberdeen Squash Club a couple of weekends ago. And he loved the 12-year-old Glengarry. Had it at a party last week, and now he's now got a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old to try. So thank you for getting him hooked.
That's interesting. I'm trying to look at your little picture to see if I recognize you, but I can't really see the picture very well. So the 10 and the 15, it'd be interesting to hear what versions of that you've got. So is it R15, the old sherry? And the 10 must be an independent release.
Yeah,
that's cool though.
I wonder, Aberdeen Shop's got their own 10-year-old out just now, so I wonder if that's theirs.
Yeah, it could be. And the 15 could be either the chapter 1 but probably the sherry release. But that's really quite difficult to get now. It's not that easy to get. Yeah. That's cool. Well done. That's
so,
nice.
Guys, that was about 4 drams you're due us now for that wee conversation, I'm sure.
I'd forgotten about that. But yeah, every time Glengarry is inadvertently mentioned, everybody has to take a dram at home. So yeah, we might be up to 4 or 5 drams.
David Keith, I hope you finish the DIY now. Right. So guys, that's been a great Blether. I've really enjoyed that. Something nice and relaxed and fun to get it in. It depends on the guys at home and you, Federica, how long we stay. There is some more kind of chat we could have, or do you want to come back again maybe after the Spirit of Speyside and we'll do a catch up with you?
That'd be cool.
Lovely, yeah. Just happy whenever. I really enjoyed it. To be fair, like it went to places where I didn't expect it, so it was really good fun. It was really good fun. So happy to be anytime. Whenever it's to have a dram and have a chat, I'm so happy. So
definitely, we'll get you on. That'd be cool to get a follow-on from Spirit of Speyside and just see your take on it, and you'll maybe be allowed to talk about some of the things. Like once you've done your writing and things, you can maybe come back and sum it all up for us the way your experience of Spirit of Speyside. That'd be fun. Because quite a few of the guys, I'm sure. I think quite a few of the guys watching will be going along to Spirit of Speyside as well. So you never know. You might all have a common connection. You might all end up at the same thing.
Yeah. Rick saying, and I was thinking the same, is we should have a Blether about what happens when you two meet up.
No, that's staying a secret.
Rugby, take out some swords or knives.
That could be live. I think that would be fun. So, guys, if you want to follow Federica, your Instagram handle is not at Federica Stefani, as I noticed as I searched.
It would be too boring and too many misspellings.
But I will grab it and I will pop the handle on the chat, so you can follow on Facebook, and you can also see her writing Cask Still. You've done a couple of articles now for Cask Still. The most recent one, do you like whiskey? So Cask Still, if you haven't seen it, it's a free magazine. We have it in the shop, so if you are ordering from us online, just ping us a note and say, can I get a wee magazine sent through, and we can stick that in your delivery. It comes out 4 times a year. Is it quarterly?
Twice. It's just twice a year, actually. So it's one winter time, usually December, and the other one around about May. But now, apart from my own writing, there's some excellent writers on it, and I just really love the smell of it. If you're a print nerd, it just smells wonderful. It's like that old sort of old style print / fresh, but doesn't it?
It smells like a joiner's work. It smells like the cooperage.
It does have an old book smell. Like if you're at university and you find the really old books down in the archive. It's got like
I'm not mental. It's just like that. The first time that I opened it, I was like, well, I really love the quality of the paper and the smell of it. So
Rob's asking, is it bananas? Yes, it's foam bananas.
foam banana smell.
Foam bananas and strawberry laces. Those are classic.
That's what it is. Chris, I do remember you. I do remember you. Did you have like you were dressed like a farmer, and I mean that in the best way, because I was farming for 10 years, but I do remember you. Nice to thank you for joining us.
Were you the farmer? Yeah. Wait, introduce yourself. You were the farmer at the last tasting, weren't you? That was him. Yeah, there you go.
He agrees. Look, yes, that's me. There we go.
Brilliant. I'm glad you didn't take offense to that. Absolutely.
You can't take offense to that.
So Keith Duncan has said that his unicorn dram is the one he's having after he's painted these effing. It's not quite 9 o'clock yet. These effing walls.
Getting you through the night. There's an end to it, and you can have more drams after.
Exactly.
Federica, it's been absolutely superb having you. Thank you for being the first guest of 2024. Guys, it's been wonderful having you back. I've missed it. I was wondering how we'd get on tonight. A little bit of rustiness, but I think we've managed to do. We've done all right once the chat gets going. We're good. All back to you guys. Some great questions, some great comments. It's always good fun to hear what you have to say. Kat, who is next week's guest?
Next week we have got, I'm prepared this time because I usually forget who we've got on. Next we've got Fraser Campbell, who was global brand ambassador for Dewars for many, many years. And he is now part of Copper Cairn, which he does with Mitch, who is ex-Glenfiddich global brand ambassador. So Mike and I met him at the Whisky Talks conference at the tail end of last year, and he had some fantastic stories. So I think it's going to be a good chat. So join us for that next week.
I think I'll be on the other side of things next week.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And guys, if you're watching retrospectively, remember you can catch this on our YouTube and Facebook. So it's all recorded and goes on, so you can go back. If you have any questions afterwards that you want to ping forward to any of us, let us know, and we'll do our best to come back and answer. I'm going to start a competition next week during the Blether. I'm just going to spring this on you, Kat. I had to think about it today, and I was like, it was too late to do something this week. I thought it was too early in the year. But next year, we're going to do a wee competition for you next week, and we will we'll have some fun with it. Try and get your grey matter rolling.
Okay. That sounds like a challenge. Okay.
Is it at the start or at the end? Because it doesn't make a massive difference after a few drams.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's not a drinking challenge at all. It's not like how many Glengiris can we neck in the hour and a half. Nothing like that. No, we'll get the old brain matter going. Something fun. I don't know if there's going to be a prize for it or not. You'll get a magazine. We'll send you a free magazine as your prize.
Fantastic. I accept. Awesome.
So guys, thank you so much. Kat, have you got any last farewells to say, or you?
Any last farewell? It sounds like I'm going to die, or do you know something?
They said that. I was like, that's quite morbid.
Well, I would like to say thank you very much for everyone for tuning back in for the first Blether of the year. Thank you to Federica for agreeing to come back on, and we hope to see you all next week. So yeah, thank you very much. Don't you stay there, Federica. We'll say goodbye to everybody, and we'll say goodbye to you properly off air as well. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you all at 7 p.m. next week, dram in hand. Cheers, everyone.
All right. Slange, guys.
Slange. Salute.
Slange.
Chin chin.
Salute.
Chin chin.